Good morning and welcome to the revision session for Oxford Law Trove. What I'll do for any latecomers or for anybody who isn't able to make the session today, I am going to be recording it. So we'll make sure to share this with your lecturers and they can pass it round for anybody who was unable to make the session. A bit of housekeeping before we begin. The demo of the revision materials on Law Trove is probably going to take around 20 minutes. I'm going to go over the key things that you will find useful when you start to think about revising for your exams. If you do have any questions as we go, there is a chat box on the webinar. So if you pop any questions in there as we go, I'd be happy to take those, but we will have enough time at the end of the session for questions. So please do let me know as we go if there's anything that you'd like me to go back over or that didn't quite make sense, or any general questions that you do have about Oxford Law Trove and using the revision tools. So what I'm going to assume is that most of you are familiar with how to use Oxford Law Trove in general. You've looked at some of your main textbooks on here, but now you're starting to think about your exam preparation and how best to use Law Trove to do that. So there are a few main things which you're going to be able to use to start your revision and kind of work through what you might expect to find in your exam. So there's a number of ways you can access the revision materials. If you go by subject, each revision material, it's not linked to a specific book that your lecturers may have recommended that you read for the course. It actually covers the entire area of law. So thinking about areas like land law and equity and trust, which are traditionally two of the most difficult areas of the law to grasp, you are going to find these materials very useful. So what you can do is go by subject once you've accessed Law Trove and click on land law, and it'll bring up all of the books in that subject area, as you may well know. So while we just wait for that to come up, I will say that my access to Law Trove is going to bring up a lot more than yours will, because I've got access to some of the older editions and stuff like that, which you won't have. You'll just have access to all the latest editions of all of our books. So what you need to do when you get onto the section for land law, make sure you clicked on books rather than chapters, because that will bring up a lot of stuff which might not be relevant. And then if you scroll down, you've got these question and answer books for revision and study guides for land law. As I say, there's one for each of the key areas of law. And if you click into each one, we can go through those and see how they might be useful. Now, the question and answer books are really useful for coursework-based exams or long-form answers rather than shorter answers. So what I thought would be good to do is have a look at a chapter of each one. Now, each book is kind of set out in the same way. So what it will tell you to do is look at the kind of areas of the law that you should have already read. Now, it is not enough, and I can't stress this enough, it's not enough to just rely on the revision materials to pass your exams. You need to have done the pre-reading on the course as well. For the adverse possession chapter, you will have to have read these topics in some of your registered textbooks already, just to kind of get the background in this area before you start to even think about revising. So you will need to do that background reading as well before you even come to the revision guides. So what each question and answer book covers is the key debates in each area of the law, and it does have a brief summary of those. And then what you want to do from there is have a look at the key questions that you might be faced with in each area of the subject. What it also lays out for you is a diagram of a suggested answer. And there's a number of different ways you can access this depending on how you like to learn. If you're more of a visual learner, this would be something that's really useful for you to view. So there you see kind of the issues with the case, the relevant law, where that's brought in, and how you actually apply that. Now, obviously, the application of the law is what is going to get you the higher marks in this. And what the book also does lays out the suggested answer of how you should actually tackle this question. So it's got kind of the key areas that you need to bring in again. And then this section, looking for extra marks. For those of you who are looking to get a high 2-1 or a first, this is something that you are going to be looking to take into account. And I'm assuming because you've attended this revision webinar that you are looking to get those higher grades on your exams. So the really important section is to analyse and critique the law and look at where it might go moving forward in this area. It's not enough just to regurgitate the law and include some of these cases as well. So each of these question and answer books goes on to look at the questions in the same way. They're all laid out and things to take into consideration and has those suggested answers. So it's a really clear way of structuring those longer format answers. As I say, each book does have the same sort of layout for each of the subject areas. So that's the question and answer book. Now, the other one that you might find useful to go alongside the question and answer book is the concentrate guide. Now, the concentrate guide is more useful if you are doing short form answers. And I'll find that here for you so we can have a look at that. Again, it covers the whole area of land law. And if we just click into it, it provides a brief summary of what you might come to expect in the exam, and then covers the key facts of unregistered land, a chapter overview of the things that you need to learn, which again you can view in a larger format or you can download as a PowerPoint slide, and then gives you some revision tips to focus around this area as well. So as I say, these are more useful for shorter answers and looking at the key cases in each of the different areas. Now, as I said before, it's not enough just to use these exam revision guides for your study. You must also do the key reading in each area. Most lecturers will know these revision guides like the back of their hand. They've used them for a long time, and they'll know if you've simply just copied the information that is in these without doing the wider reading as well. Obviously, anything that you do decide to use must be cited, which I can show you later down the line. The other thing that I wanted to mention, again, for those of you who are looking to get higher marks in your exams, one of the other things on Law Trove that you will find very useful are these essential cases. Now, again, you can find these only on Law Trove. They're completely exclusive. You won't find them on any of your other resources. But essentially what they are is the key cases in each area of the law for the different chapters. Now, what it basically provides is a commentary and a trimmed down version of each of the key cases. So if we just take in here human rights, you'll see here's the only one for human rights, but there's an essential case in here. And again, it provides the summary of the case, and then the section that you'll want to actually focus on for this is down at the bottom. It's got the decision of what the outcome of the case was. But looking at this wider questions, is the decision on the case still relevant now? What would the judgments be in today's society? And if you can comment on that and ask those wider questions, that's what's going to get you the extra marks for this exam. So it's really important to focus on these key cases, analyse them and tie them into your answers as well. As I say, these are relevant to each of the subjects that you will be doing. And if you did want to read the full case judgment, that's also available on the open access website, and you can get it on Westlaw as well. So that's another part of the revision section that you might find useful. Now, what we do also have are a number of different textbooks which are lower level introductions to the subject. So if we click again on land law, you'll see that we have a series of books called Directions. Now, some of you, your lecturers, may already recommend these to you for study in the area of land law. But if not, they are a very introductory way of kind of getting broad coverage of the subject of land law. So you can find them in the section of land law where you can search here, Directions, and that will bring up the series, which again you can use for revision. They're kind of an alternative to the concentrates and the question and answers if you did want to look at those. I'll just show you now. While this is loading, I'm just going to take another question. Samudu has asked, can you please let us know how to access this portal? So most of you on this webinar, your university will have bought access to Law Trove for you. And the way that you access it is via your university network. So when you log on via the library portal or the university network, it should have your university logo here, and it should automatically sign you in. You go to oxfordlawtrove.com and it should be on there for you. If not, you can search via your institution. I'll show you that in a second. But it should already have the access automatically set up for you. Back to the direction series that I mentioned before. So again, there's these directions books for all of the different subjects in the area. So again, you can use those for your revision. There's the land law one. This is the most recent. And again, it's got sort of a brief introduction to all of the key areas of law. So again, these are a really introductory way of studying the subject. Now, the other thing that you might find useful for revision is using our legal skills book by Finch and Fafinsky. So this book can be found here, and it does actually have a section in it called revision and exam practice. So this book is not only useful for revision exams, it's something that will carry you throughout your degree, and you can use it for your legal skills throughout the course. So the revision and exam skills chapter is here, chapter 16, and it will really just tell you about what to expect in the exam and what the kind of things are that you need to be covering in each part of your revision. It covers all of the preparation around exams and revising, and the timing, what to expect, when are they. It really just walks you through step by step of how to think about your exams, how the weighting of the exam is covered. So it's a very useful tool to also take in mind when thinking about your revising. It's got tips and tricks of how to do the best on your exams. I appreciate this is quite a lot of information to take in. One other tip that might be worth doing is just typing into the search bar revision to think about this on a wider scale, rather than going subject by subject, and then clicking on books again. And it's got all of the revision materials saved in one place if that's how you'd prefer to search for all of this content. It's all there and available for you. As I said before, there's slightly more on mine because I've got access to some of the older material, but you will have access to all of the newer books that are on there. I'm just going to take another question. So, hi, Amelia. She said, my university wants us to use in-text citations, but I'm not sure what they mean by that. We do not have to use footnotes or a bibliography in our exams. So in order to cite, it's what I think you mean, in order to use citations from the textbook. So if I, for example, click on, let's just take this one because it's the one that's right in front of me. So if you want to cite a paragraph of text using Law Trove, this is the way that I would do it. You need to be set up with a personal profile on Law Trove to start with. So if you see here in the top right hand corner, it says Jess Hall, which is me, my work, and then sign out. So if I just sign out from the start, I'll show you. To create a personal profile, you would use the create button here and sign up some details. And that essentially allows you to save chapters on Law Trove that you can come back to. You can save different notes on there that you've made for your revision, and you can also save different links to the books and that kind of thing. So once you've created your personal profile, we'll just walk through it now. I've already got an account, so you sign in and go to the My Work section. And then again, you can look at your bookmarks, your searches, your annotations that are on there. Now, in order to do a citation, as you've just mentioned, let's go back and find a book. I'm clicking on the first book that comes up, because it's the same process for every single book. So what you'd do if you want to save a particular quotation, let's take it from the abstract, you highlight the text. Hang on, let's take it from here. So let's highlight that particular section of text, and then this little button here will come up where it says annotate, and then you would make a note for your exam, so exam prep. Save that, and then go to My Work. And then here's the section that you've just saved in My Annotations. Now to cite that, you click here on this button, and then you would save it. I think usually the referencing format is Oscola for law, and it will do the referencing for you in the way that is meant to be set out. And then you can download that and save it as a reference. So if you were going to reference that particular piece of text, then that's the way that you would do it on Law Trove, and it just saves you the time of doing that referencing, making sure everything's consistent throughout using the book. So I hope that answers your question, Amelia. I'm just checking to see if there are any questions, because that's the end of the revision session for now. That's everything I wanted to show you. If anybody would like me to go back over anything and show you again how to access any of those books, why you might want to use them, please let me know. I'm happy to take any questions now or comments, and I will stay on the line and wait for those questions to come in. If not, then I wish you good luck with your examinations and your revision going forward. Please do ask your academics if you have any further questions around Law Trove, and we'd be happy to answer those going forward. Thank you. So Francis has asked, do we sign into Law Trove with our university login? I'm just going to show you that section again from the start to make it more easy for you to understand. So let's go back to the Law Trove homepage and show you how to access. So again, if you are on your university network, your university has already purchased access to Law Trove. So you should be automatically signed in. And here it says Oxford University Press, but that should come up with your university logo. If not, and that isn't coming up, you go sign in via your institution here. And then if you search for your institution on here, and then click on it, and it will bring up the access for you. If you are having any issues, please contact your library and ask them why the access isn't working, but it should work wherever you are, because I know obviously a lot of you will be working from home at the moment. So that's how you access. But yeah, oxfordlawtrove.com is the website, so that should automatically access for you. Okay, so the next question please let me know if there are any books for insurance revision. So Samudu, do you mean, are there any revision books in that area? Because if so, the answer is no, we don't have any. If you mean textbooks, then there are books in that area, but no, unfortunately, no revision guides for those. So Leah has asked, could you please go over how to reference again? Yep, of course. So let's just click on a book. I'll go to Land Law this time. We don't want to be referencing from the exam guide, so let's just click on Land Law by Chris Bevan. So if you're reading, let's say, chapter 5, co-ownership, and you find a paragraph that you think is going to be particularly useful, highlight that paragraph and it will come up with this annotation here. Click exam prep 2 to make a little note so you know why you've saved it. And then you go up here to my work, make sure you've made that personal profile, and it'll be saved in my annotations, which is what you've just made. Here it is. Here it is, the Land Law one that you've just made. And then you click here, cite. Choose your style of referencing that the university would like you to use. As I say, most of them are a scholar for law, but they could ask you to do Harvard referencing. Just double check with your lecturer which one they would want you to use. And then it will bring up the reference here of how that needs to go. And then you can include that in your referencing. I hope that makes sense, Leah, but if not, please let me know how to, if so, and I can go back over that again. So Davina has asked, do the revision guides have example essay questions with some essay template examples? So let me just have a look again at one of the revision guides that are on here. So let's go back to Land Law. And if we look at the revision guide, so again, these ones are for the more long form answers and for the coursework. So each chapter does have a sort of diagram of how you might go about planning out your answer, and then a suggested answer here. So if that's what you mean sort of by an example answer, this is where you would kind of find the content that's in here. But please don't copy this, because the lecturers do know, they've read these a lot, so they'll know if you kind of just regurgitated this and used quite a lot of it. And obviously that is also subject to plagiarism as well. So just use it as a guide and expand on that when you are looking at doing your own answers. So I hope that's answered your question, Davina. I'm just looking through, there is quite a few questions coming through, so please just bear with me and I'll try and get to your question. So Kazuki has asked, do we need to write reference for unseen writing exam? I would double check with your lecturers what they would like you to do about referencing in your exam, but basically anything that you copy from a textbook or any quotes or information that you use that isn't your own words, you will need to reference that. So double check with them how they would like you to reference in your exams, and they will tell you. So Amelia has asked, is it possible to search within the book to find keywords that might relate to the exam question that you were trying to do? So yes, there's a really good search functionality on Law Trove. So for example, what you would do is, let's go back to the start. You press show titles in my subscription, and then here down the side you can do your search functionality. So adverse possession obviously is a key topic in Law Trove, but you can use any of these. key search terminology. And then if you press search here, it will refine all of the content down to, then this is where it's good to sort of use chapter level for that. And it will bring up all the chapters with relevant information in there for what you are trying to search. Now, obviously, it's quite sophisticated, the search terms that you can use, so you can really narrow it down to what you're trying to look for. Obviously, any key cases that you want to include, you can add those into the search terminology, and it will narrow it down for you, just so that any content that you are looking to include for those exam questions will come up in Law Trove if it's covered. Francis has asked, do we sign up to Law Trove or should we already have an account? So the access to Access Law Trove, which is all of the books and everything I've just showed you, you should already have automatic access to that because your university will have paid for the access for everybody on the course. The only thing you will need to sign up for is if you are making the personal profile, which is up here in the right-hand corner, and that's just so that you can save your annotations, you can save the references, you can save the bookmarks that you've made. You will need to create that for yourself because that is personalised to you, whereas the access to Law Trove is for everybody on the course. So hopefully that makes sense. Sharon's asked, do we reference our lecture notes even if it's in our own words? So again, I would double check with your lecturer, but I don't think you would need to reference your lecture notes unless you've taken that from something that, if you've written that down in your own words, that should be okay. But if it's been taken from a book or a source or a case, then you will need to reference that original source of where it's come from. But please do double check with your lecturers what they would like you to do. Navin's also asked about accessing the Law Trove website. You shouldn't need to subscribe to anything. If you just click on oxfordlawtrove.com, you should have automatic access and be signed in via your university institution. If you are having trouble with that, please do contact your library because that should come automatically via their IP address. As I say, just please bear with me as I'm just working through the questions that are being asked at the moment. But I will try and get to your question as soon as possible. Thank you. Gladys has asked, there is no expiration to my work. Nope. So once you've made that personal profile, that will stay with you for as long as the access to Law Trove is available. So you can keep that. You can come back to it every single time you log on. As long as you keep your login details handy and remember those, you'll be able to come back to those, and or everything that you've done on there for the whole academic year, for the whole of your degree, will be saved. So Henandine has asked, my greatest hurdle really concerns how to develop skills on making notes as preparation for responsive but concise answers that would meet word count requirement. So if you're kind of looking at note making and general exam prep and how to make that the most responsive and the most concise, I would use the Finch and Fafinsky book, which I mentioned, which is the legal skills book. So if you search here, I'll just show you that book again because it does have some really useful tips in there of how to do your exams. So if we click on that book, I'll just show you some of the chapters which you might find most useful in there. So you've got your writing skills, you've got the referencing, you've got essay writing, which will be a really important one for, like you say, just making those notes, answering the questions, revision and examination skills, which is a really key chapter for looking at how you might prepare yourself in terms of making those notes and that kind of thing. So if you work the way through this chapter, that will give you some key information of how best to revise for your exams. As I say, that book is Finch and Fafinsky, Legal Skills, and it's the one with the life ring on the cover, so it's quite an easy one to remember. I'll just leave this up if you want to write down the name of the authors to search for on Law Trove. Gabriella said she's missed the first 10 minutes of the webinar. In terms of what I covered, I did say that we are recording this session. So what I'll do is make sure this recording is sent round to all of your lecturers, and then they can kind of share that maybe on your VLE or somewhere useful for anybody who didn't manage to make the session. We do also have another revision session running on the 4th of May. As well, so we will send around the details of that. I believe that they have already been shared, so if you wanted to sign up for that webinar as well, then you are more than welcome if there's anything that you think you might have missed, but we will be covering generally the same stuff. So Gabriella, what we did cover in the first 10 minutes, I roughly said that the particular materials that you might find useful for your revision are the question and answer guides, which is one per subject area, rather than relating to a textbook, and also the concentrate guides as well for each subject, which are better for the short form answers. So hopefully you got caught up from there, but if there's anything else that you wanted to ask that you think you might have missed, please do let me know. Dale has said, hello, this is absolutely terrific resource. Thank you, we're glad to hear it. So yes, no problem doing the session. You discovered it by accident after browsing the internet and a private student subscriber. How long has Oxford Law Trove been around? So Oxford Law Trove, I believe now it's been about 7 years, I think. I'm not 100% sure. Basically, Law Trove was active at OUP before I joined the company. So I'm not 100% sure, but what I will say is that it's been used across the country this year, and obviously as part of the pandemic, a lot of universities have used the platform, and students have found it really helpful for their studies. So I'm really pleased to hear that you've also found it and been able to use it and make the most out of it. One other resource which might also be useful for those of you who are doing exam prep and essays is a book called Strong. It's by an author called Strong, and it's How to Write Essays and Exams. So this, again, is a really useful book, which is used time and time again by students who are preparing for their exams. It's one that I didn't cover before, but another one that you will find in the revision section when you are looking at resources. And it's got a number of different chapters about how to actually write the exams and just general tips on legal writing as well. So it's another resource that you might want to use and that you might find useful. Elena has said, would you mind showing the revision guides again, other than the concentrate ones? So do you mean the question and answer guides, Elena, or is there something else that you wanted to see? Was it the directions series? If you could just let me know in the chat and I'll show you again. Both of those would be great. Okay, no problem. So again, if we go via subject, so land law, I'll take that, seeing as that seems to be a favourite that we're looking at. Again, there's one for each of the core areas of law. So the question and answer guides, again, are the ones for long form answers and for coursework, and they can be found on each subject area. Again, there will just be the most recent edition for you. The essential cases are all of the key cases in each area, which you will want to use for extra marks and answer those wider questions around the relevance of the case and how you would now tie that into your analysis of each area of the law. And then you've also got the concentrate guides as well, which are the revision and study guides, and they're better kind of for the short form answers and short form exams as well. The other series which I mentioned was the direction series, which is actually a textbook rather than a revision guide, but it is that entry-level textbook which you could use as an alternative to the question and answers book and the concentrates. And it really does just give you that introductory look at the subject. So again, for all of the key areas of law, you do have a directions book, which you might want to read if you just want to brush up on your knowledge of a subject. But of course, you do have that key reading as well that's been given to you by your lecturers. Samuda has said, University of London students cannot access all of the books showing. So some universities have bought access to everything on Law Trove, absolutely every book that we have published, and some universities have only bought select modules. So what I would do is check with your library or your lecturers as to which modules you do have access to, because unfortunately some of the universities have only bought select modules. Obviously, if there are particular ones that you think would be useful for next year, please do tell your lecturers as well, and they'll aim to get those purchased for you for next year as well. So Henandina has asked, can you please cite again the author of the How to Write Essays book? So I'll just click back on that one for you so you can see who it is. And that was the Strong book, one that I didn't mention in the first part of the webinar, but one that again is worth looking at. So this actually comes up if you were just looking kind of via subject level, it would come up in the legal systems and skills subject, but for a quick reference, you would just type Strong into the book. So if you did want to reference something from this book, I'll click on a chapter. Again, you take a section of the book, annotate it, and also the good thing as well, once you've made that annotation, it will highlight it in yellow going forward, so you can kind of get that for easy reference going forward. Then you go into my work, go to my annotations, and there's your reference there, the Strong one. And then to cite it, it will come up here, and that's how you would cite the Strong book as well. So that's for the chapter 1. Francis has asked how you link your university account to your Law Trove account. So the Law Trove will be already open access for you, so you won't need to link anything there. It should already be open on the university network. But what you might want to do is when you're creating a personal profile up here in the top right hand corner, the email address that you sign up for, you might want to use the university email address rather than a personal one, just so that it's linked to university work rather than your personal email. If that makes sense, Francis, please let me know. Or if it was a different question that you were asking, I'd be happy to try and answer that. Okay, so Francis, if you just check with your university, you should have access brought in for you. I'll just show you again how to access that via the institutional network. If you are still having trouble, please get in touch with your library and ask them. I'm not sure which university you're from, but you should already have the access available. So if I just go to the homepage once again, and again, it should show here your university when you come onto the homepage. If not, you click here, go sign in via your institution. Choose your institution from the list, and then press sign in, and it should automatically sign in for you. As I say, if not, please contact your institution, because there might be an issue of why you can't get that if they haven't signed up to the access that you need. Are there any other questions that I haven't answered? Please let me know now. Gladys, sorry. So you've said, it seems we can download chapters as PDFs for offline use, although the format slightly changes. Are there other ways to do offline work? So yes, you can download chapters. We do only recommend downloading one chapter at a time, because we're not, strictly speaking, it is supposed to be an online resource, and we are only supposed to have one chapter at a time. So ideally, it is just supposed to be that online resource. Is there something in particular that you were looking to do? Because I can answer that if so. But as I say, it is supposed to be something that you're accessing while you're connected to the university network. So Francis, if you are on the website and it's asking you to log in via your university, I would, as I've just showed you on the back here, sign in via your institution, and you just scroll through this list, and then the access should be there for you. If you are having further issues, we do have a help page and a help address that you can use to get in touch with somebody and find out why the access isn't working. So that's up here in the top bar, help, and we've got this Trove help email address that you might want to ask any kind of technical questions to. We've also got an FAQ page which you can have a look through to see if your answer is on there, but I would get in touch with this email address and ask if they can help you with the access. If you think that you should have it via your university and it's not working, I would email them and they'll be able to help you and sort that out. Indeed has said, do you accommodate questions via email or other forms of access just in case you need to ask questions in the future? Yes, so again, as I've just mentioned, we've got the help page where you can get in contact and ask any questions. If it is something more general, we do run these webinars kind of each term just to talk about how to get the most out of Law Trove, how to do the revision and that kind of thing. So I would look out for those from your academics because they will post details of when they are. And yeah, we're always happy to answer any questions. So please do get in contact with us. The recording is going to be sent around to your academics. We will forward the link and get them to post that on your VLE or wherever they think is most appropriate that the law students will go to use this. But details of that will follow. We might put it somewhere like on a YouTube link because we do have a number of different videos of how to get the most out of Law Trove, which we've done as a series on Law Trove. So we might put it with those ones, or we might just send it directly round to the universities. But we'll be in contact to let you know where the recording's going to be. As I said, there is one more session on Tuesday, the 4th of May as well, if anybody is able to make that. The details of how to register should have been sent round to you via your university. If there are any other questions, I'll be happy to take them. If not, then I'll stick on the line till 11 o'clock. But thank you ever so much for your time, everybody. I hope it was useful.